Cool. And there we go. Yeah, so I suppose to open up the white paper, obviously it's finally released. I hope you're all happy with it. It was a culmination of a massive amount of work. I suppose a lot of it was in planning over several weeks, months that we had to sit down and actually talk about, what we're doing, what can we do to actually keep value in the token, how can we kind of develop this into working towards either gaming SDKs or games themselves while not detracting from the use case of the actual token. And I think that's a problem that a lot of gaming kind of gaming startups and blockchain have dealt with, the token not needed problem, where we can have a token, we can release games that are attached to it, but unless we actually integrate that one token into every game, which creates an unbelievable concern when it comes to actual game design, where you're working with a pre-built economy, that there was no real way to do it. And I think a lot of it then came down to reaching out to partners in Chainlink and Vimerco and speaking about, how we can actually build a staking farm and actually keep the game design element of everything open and be able to, I suppose, develop our own experiences without being held back by having an economy that we needed to work with at all times, but also being able to actually build something which would benefit a greater economy that is connected directly to the Dogira token. And yeah, massive amount of planning went into, I suppose, making sure that we didn't create an inflating supply. As pretty much every farming token is inflationary. I mean, cake is massively inflationary. There's bakery swap, then they have that as well. There's ape swap. I mean, anything that is farming related, usually it's just an infinitely inflating token, and they just have to find ways to burn it. And yeah, there are ways that we could do that. We could make games just, burn every time that somebody does a transaction, work out an economy where we're burning more than we're inflating. But again, we're going to be limiting actual game designers to working with that economy. So everything you're just seeing in the white paper is geared towards being able to allow game designers to be game designers, games developers to be game developers, while still benefiting an overall economy that we can jump into on it. If you haven't had a read through it yet, I greatly recommend you do. There's a lot of stuff in there, but our incredibly talented artist Mary has made it so that it's a very enjoyable white paper to even just visually absorb. She's done an absolutely incredible job with it. She's definitely taken all of my words and really created a work of art out of it. So if you do see Mary in around our Telegram as well, be sure to tell her what a fantastic job she did in it. I think really we were able to get across the message so well and have something that we can put out there for anyone to read. And obviously it's all written as well with the thought in mind that we don't want to just put this out to people who are just fully technically minded. I didn't want to jump in, and I know there are some parts in it where I did kind of have to touch on the more technical ends of it. But in trying to keep away from that and build something that is actually built for people to absorb, be able to read through and enjoy, and see what's kind of in store for the future, as opposed to a lot of white papers which are just purely technical. And there's most certainly a place for purely technical white papers. We might even have one of those in the future if we do start, rolling out with fuller SDKs or anything like that. But I think that what was done with this white paper and moving from the high level objective on it, and then to have Mary come in and just make it absolutely beautiful as well, with glimpses of the type of artwork that we're going to be incorporating into our own Dogira Studios titles. I think, yeah, this white paper, I'm incredibly happy with it and incredibly happy to be able to share it with everybody on here. But as normal, we do apologise for the delay in getting it out. We had a lot to consider in going into it. It wasn't several months to sit down and just write it. It was several months going back and forth and discussions on what can we do to actually make it work for everyone, to play to our own strengths, make sure that we're using every resource that we have to our fullest ability, rather than just throwing stuff on a paper that would sound good and potentially then not being able to deliver on it, or finding out halfway into the delivery that it doesn't actually work for the token. It's another case of token not needed. But I think that the whole team has come together, done a fantastic job on this, and we can't wait to get started on it, especially with our new partners in the collaborations that we have going right now with Vimerco, with Chainlink, and obviously we're going to still be working with Viralata Finance as well on our charity work, as you can read more about down at the bottom of the white paper. I just think that this has really lined everything up to look fantastic, and I'm super excited to continue working on it. I think a lot of you already know that I'm finishing up in my day job at the moment, and this is what I'll be working on fully in about a week's time now. So yeah, there's a massive changes coming ahead, and super excited to actually be able to sit down and get working on all of this stuff full time. So yeah, that's my opening tangent over with, so we can jump on to the questions.
Let's see here, the first one. Currently holding a bag of Dogira and MetaMask on the ARC20 network. What do I have to do to receive the Dogira V2 token, since it will be on another network than the current one? Also, what happens to the value of the OG Dogira token, and will all liquidity be moving to the other network?
Yeah, so your airdrop will actually arrive on ERC20. It'll arrive on the Ethereum network. So we're going to have a bridged solution on it. You're still going to be able to, like, if you have no interest in staking or in playing games or anything like that, you just want to hold a token and, hopefully the value goes up, etc. You can still do that in Ethereum the exact same way you would do now. There will be a new contract address. So when we are doing the airdrop, we would tell you the contract address of it. You can add it to your MetaMask, your Trust wallet, or what have you, and it'll just show up on there as normal. You can bridge it over to Matic then through the Matic bridge that we're developing, or sorry, over to Polygon. I'm still jumping between those two names. I know it's always Polygon we refer to it as now, and Matic is just a network token. But yeah, so you'll be able to bridge over onto the Polygon network, or if you don't have any Dogira yet, you can just buy it on the Polygon network once we go live on there. But yeah, you will get your airdrop on the Ethereum network. And the value of the OG Dogira, yeah, we'll be moving the liquidity, well, splitting the liquidity rather, between Polygon and on Ethereum. And we still do have the liquidity lockup at the moment. So I know this goes into the CEX side of it as well, that we want to keep some liquidity that we can have on the side for that. But when it comes to actually putting in new liquidity on different platforms, say across Polygon, or say if we wanted to even expand onto another DEX on Ethereum or even another CEX, we're just going to be maintaining the actual ratio of tokens that we've got in the pool. So the value will be the same. But if everybody tries to sell into just one pool, as in like everybody's trying to sell onto, say, Uniswap, then you could expect there to be arbitrage between that. So if you're, say, looking to sell off or buy up a large amount of tokens, you may want to make sure that you're able to, jump between pools if needs be while we're still waiting for liquidity to kind of fill up on that one. So yeah, uh, value-wise, it will remain on a one-to-one. It'll just be spread amongst more pools.
All right. Let's see. Next one. Do you recommend buying Matic to interact with the V2 token?
Yeah, so if you're bridging across onto the Polygon network, Matic is what you're going to be paying your gas fees with. So you will need it if you actually want to use Dogira on it. If you want to, say, stake into the new staking farm, you want to play games, etc., or any services that would support Dogira on there, you will need to have a little bit of Matic. Yeah, right now, like, Matic is incredibly cheap compared to Ethereum. There are actually faucets that you can go to at the moment, which can pretty much get you enough gas for, I think, about 100 or 200 transfers. It is much, much cheaper than any network that's out there at the moment. The only thing I'd recommend right now, if you are moving across and you want to actually, play around on the network over there, then I would say there's custom. This is in the white paper. It's on RPCs, and you will likely want to get yourself hooked up with a custom one of those, because the public RPCs are actually just completely congested at the moment, because the network has just picked up so much on there that, like, the actual speed of the network is extremely fast, but on the RPC side of it, you're going to have issues with a lot of the public ones that are out there. And I'm just trying to think of the URL, because you can actually get one for free, which is a private RPC to run through, and this is like, the speed of it is comparable to being the only person on the Ethereum network. You could just get instant transfer times, get instant update times. It's absolutely incredible. I'm just trying to find the URL for it just so I can call it out, because they're doing a really amazing service at the moment. It won't be free forever, obviously. They're doing it right now while they're just kind of getting set up with it, but it'll definitely serve anybody fine while we're there waiting for us to reveal our public RPC networks that we'll be offering. Yeah, sorry, it's infura.io, so infura.io. And there's a couple of videos on YouTube that can talk you through it as well. So yeah, I'd recommend maybe pick up a little bit of Matic and play about on the network.
Gotcha. Most important question of the whole Ask Me Anything: what color should I order my Lambo in? Personally, I prefer any type of matte finish. What about you, Owen?
I don't know if you're buying a Lambo. I think you're breaking the law if it's not in green. It's
Oh
and
God.
yeah, I don't like green cars either, but it's a Lambo. It's kind of like it has to be in green. Like there's an issue if you've a Lambo and it's not in green. And yeah, I'm being agreed with. See, you have to have a green Lambo.
What are some early plans for first-party Dogira Studios projects?
Yeah, so we're going to be doing a decent bit of, I guess, exploratory development on that. The limitations that are on blockchain related gaming, a lot of it comes back to say stuff in real time. And that is something extremely difficult to do because there's no way to actually do it without having a centralized component in it, unless you wanted to, basically hand over private keys and allow for gas to be taken out without you confirming anything. And I don't think anybody wants that in any game that they play. So a lot of what we'll be doing will, I suppose, be designing things around the platform. Now, that's not to say that, we're designing a game around the blockchain. It's more the fact that we need to recognize the actual limitations on the platform in what we're using, similar to how we'd, target for, PCs. We want to look at, supporting older GPUs and stuff like that. So we do need to sit down and see, the ideas we have, let's put them to paper, let's do up little prototypes on them, and let's find out which ones are actually fun to run forward with. So instead of actually defining a case of, we have to build it for the blockchain, we're going to build the type of experiences that we want to build. And then we see, what's actually working on the blockchain right now and what maybe could work, maybe given a little bit of time for blockchain gaming in general to mature, or even something that we can do ourselves further down the line when we maybe have some more resources, a little bit more time, stuff like that. I'll be looking, I suppose, at titles that I would have worked on in the past and looking towards, is there anything we can kind of take from there that we might be able to actually start building out some prototypes with, see if it works as a blockchain related game, just so I suppose, like get some stuff actually on the network for us to be able to begin playing with. Because we don't want a case where, we're turning around to everybody in summer next year and saying, oh yeah, we're still building a game, stuff like that. Like we're aware of the fact that, the market is moving right now and we need to start prototyping these things out, find out what's fun, and maybe, create experiences that we add to over time. But a lot of this stuff comes down to, I suppose, progressive levels of gaming, or like your style of incremental games and what kind of axis you're running with at the moment. Games that don't have any definitive beginning and end, stuff like that, I think work best in that. And for me personally, they're the type of games that I actually enjoy playing the most. So it likely will be something like that, more of an open world kind of experience, that kind of stuff. But way more info on that will be coming in the very near future. So we'll certainly keep you informed on it.
All right, next question. When will the Polygon Dex partner be revealed?
We're still speaking with them at the moment, and so we know who we are actually going with. But right now, I suppose, it's something to kind of keep in the bag that we can kind of put out as we go forward. But they are a fantastic partner to be working with, and we will be doing a decent amount with them just outside of purely appearing on a DEX. So for now, we do need to keep it to ourselves, but we'll let you know as soon as I suppose we're ready to go with it.
Next one. Could you clarify the extent of your new partnership/agreement with Chainlink and Chainlink Labs?
Yeah. So yeah, we're working directly with Chainlink Labs, and yeah, this is one of those things that's difficult to give a very direct answer on again because there's certain things we can say and certain things we can't. And this isn't the case of us just throwing their name on there because we're using VRF. It's not that. We are actually in touch with them and seeing what we can do to, I suppose, grow Dogira into a large project that will kind of utilize a lot of their services, and Chainlink they would be very on board with working with us outside of simply giving us, say, access to a VRF, things like that. I can't go into great detail on that one just yet, but I would hope that we'll be able to give a bit more information on that in the weeks ahead.
Is there a date required to qualify for the airdrop, or is it for anyone that holds Dogira right now? So you are good up till the very second that the V2 token launches, because that's when we're going to be doing the airdrop as well as just halting the trading on the OG Dogira token and then bring it to the V2, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So we'll be in touch with our CEX partners and they'll be putting a pause on trading. We'll be putting a pause on Uniswap trading. And well, I say pause, we're going to be pulling the liquidity out of it and taking a snapshot at that point. So you won't be able to trade across it unless somebody decides to put their own liquidity in which case you're on your own. But yeah, we'll be pulling the liquidity out of it, and we'll be airdropping everybody over onto V2, which will have the liquidity moved into it then. So you don't need to be in before a certain date or anything. This will be pre-announced well in advance.
Will the battle bot win? Well, I don't know. Will it win? I'm not the one that's making it. Any ideas being drawn up for the first Dogira interactive experience that you could tease? Will it be a mobile game?
I think I covered over a bit of this in what I was speaking about earlier, in a lot of exploratory development that we'll be doing. What I can say though is that, like, if you have a look through the white paper, I did mention a lot about WebGL in there and using WebAssembly I suppose, to compile that and display it on web. I would say that that will definitely be the testing environments that we have in the first release environments. That the development and deployment time when we're coming to web-based experiences are just so much quicker than getting it built and optimized for mobile. So I imagine that the number one platform will probably be web, and then it will be ported then for mobile. We can of course have some cases where we'd be able to release, mobile and web at the same time, particularly if it's a bit of a bigger project that we're running with. But for now, I would say as far as the experiences and the exploratory stuff goes, we'll be looking at it being on web.
What do we get paid out in for staking Dogira / Matic?
I'll just give a quick rundown of it just in general. So there's a Dogira Matic LP pair that you'll be able to stake. You'd also just be able to simply, stake Dogira in some cases as well. In those cases, you might receive Dogira, or you might receive a completely different token of your choosing. So if we have, partners that have come on board and working with other tokens, they may elect to give us some tokens that we can stake out to anybody who is, staked in with their Dogira or with Dogira Matic LP. Or we might have our own tokens as well. So if we're launching a new game, we would likely have the tokens available to actually start farming, especially if it's a fully in-house title that we're running with. Then we would typically make it a point to make sure that you will be able to farm out a certain amount of these tokens. So it keeps a good value in holding on to your Dogira and actually being able to, I suppose, get tokens that you can either use or then sell on, or whatever you want to do with that, or trade them, what have you, without actually needing to sell the Dogira token itself or otherwise remove it from your possession. So yeah, there's pretty much anything could be in there. Dogira Matic, the actual liquidity pair, that will likely have one of the, I suppose, higher return rates on it, because we want people to, be providing liquidity and stuff like that. As it's one of the healthiest things that any coin can have, is that the liquidity is held across, multiple parties, preferably a lot of multiple parties. It's the safest way to have it at any one time. So I would say Dogira and Matic will probably have the highest rewards on it, but of course there is the risk of impermanent loss, that if Dogira starts shooting up in value, you might find that you have a lot of Matic and not much Dogira, or the opposite way around. If Matic shoots up in value, you have a lot of Dogira, and well, maybe some of you would love that, and others may be more interested in the gains that they could have gotten from a 2x or a 3x as Matic went on just before, I suppose, the market had a minor correction. But yeah, so it can be any tokens at all that we're working directly with, and it can also just be Dogira itself that you're getting returned from the actual staking pool. The first pools open will be for the 10% of the Dogira supply that we have in Doge City right now.
Is marketing with the Coinbound firm and the Asian third-party firm ongoing right now, or yet to happen? It's ongoing. I mean, with a lot of this stuff, it's kind of the same with announcements. If I say it has yet to happen or it's going to happen on this date, I'm telling you when an article is going to be posted or when these things are going to happen. With that specifically, it's given people a time to buy and sell, or speculate heavily on the things that we're doing. But yes, we are still working with them.
Yeah, and that's an important point that Skylar made there. I know it can be frustrating when you're waiting for news. I mean, there's a lot in the white paper that obviously we could have, just said out loud after we had decided on it, things like that. But we don't want to create massive opportunities to buy rumors, sell news, dump coins, stuff like that. I just find that this information is best kept kind of close to the chest until everybody knows about it. Internally on the team, we have our own rules around, we can't sit there and start buying and selling when there's massive news or anything like that. So we don't want to start disseminating small amounts of information that may not find its way to everybody. It's not good for the general health of any token. So once there is, firm news coming out or anything like that, you will know about it straight away then.
When it comes to Chainlink Labs and Vimerco, which areas are they? Oh, and it's a real quick thing on that. It is Vimerco. So on the white paper, you'll see Vimerc, and that O is just their like logo. I don't. They do their designs. I think it looks cool, but it could be kind of confused with an O actually being an O. It is in fact Vimerco. Which areas are they specifically supporting, and why did you approach them to support the project? Specifically with Vimerco, they have some amazing work that they've done that they showed us that just kind of blew us out of the water there.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we were reaching out. So one of the biggest kind of challenges we had is that even with me going full time on the project, we have a lot that we're doing. I mean, there's a lot of scope in the white paper, and I think one of the healthiest things about the team is that we kind of immediately realized that that literally everything that's in here can't be done by one full time developer. And originally, we started interviewing a couple of developers, and I suppose the unfortunate truth was that we didn't find a good fit or a good match to come onto the team. And that kind of left us in a bind of, well, what do we do? Do we start cutting down on the features from it? And we reached out to a couple of third parties who will be able to assist us. And Vimerco just absolutely stood head and shoulders above the rest. They have some absolutely gorgeous design work that they do. They've built some really, really interesting platforms as well. They've even built some small platforms that are in around gaming. And I think that it was just kind of a perfect match when we spoke to them, and in speaking in detail with them on the type of stuff we wanted to do, the type of stuff that they've already done, it basically allows us to actually, I suppose, accomplish what we have in our white paper in a reasonable time frame without putting anybody under, severe pressure or anything like that. So with Vimerco, it was an absolute must. And we wanted to make sure that we were going to be able to deliver on the vision that we were writing up into the white paper. Otherwise, we would have been cutting things out of the white paper. It's as simple as that. And Vimerco, and they've pretty much absolutely everything that we wanted. And so far, it has been working fantastically. So we're super excited to have them on board. With Chainlink Labs, you're going to have to remind me, Skylar, did they reach out to you?
It's No, I think I actually reached out to them first. Maybe they
Okay, there
reached
we
out
go.
to you afterwards because I know you're telling me, oh, by the way, I got this talk with Chainlink. So I'm thinking maybe it was the not only the emails I sent, but also the Telegram messages and talking to them. Then they reached out, unless
Yeah.
they're searching for Owen Hayes on Google. And they're like, oh yeah, we need this guy.
But just so that's what I was going to open with. That I just got a message from Chainlink one day, and I was just kind of occurring to me now that yeah, that does actually seem a little far fetched. Surely they spoke to Skylar or somebody beforehand, but at the time I didn't really think about it. The first thing I did was check if I was being scammed, which so I checked into the actual Chainlink channels and found out that no, this is actually Chainlink. So we just spoke briefly over Telegram. I said, "Do you want to set up a call? We'd love to see what way we could actually help." So yeah, we got speaking on Zoom then, had kind of a full meeting with that. Spoke about what Dogira is going to be doing, what we're going to be building. Pretty much gave them the upfront on what's in the white paper while it was still being written, and yeah, we just spoke from there on all the things that Chainlink could help us with, and that's pretty much how it came about. On the actual support on the project, like I was saying previously, I can't give 100% specifics on what we're doing together just yet, but it's a decent amount that they're helping us with, and they're a really fantastic collaborator to have on board with us.
Will Chainlink or Vimerco promote us at all?
Yeah, so that's stuff again that I can't
Yeah.
give any direct answers on, but we'll be sure to let you know if anything like that comes about.
Are there any existing game projects that Dogira will work with aside from Splitter still?
So right now, that's kind of, I suppose, one of the main titles that would have released in the past, and I like the full assumption coming in with Splitter Steel on it that I think the only plan we announced for that beforehand was that we do in-game competitions rather than an actual native blockchain integration. But as far as actual projects like that go, there's no, unfortunately, real info I can give on it just yet, but there will be more info coming in the near future. Yeah.
People holding Dogira on a centralized exchange, should they move it to a wallet for airdrop? I
No,
don't
we'll
believe so. I'm
be,
pretty sure the
yeah,
exchanges will take care of that, yeah.
exactly. Yeah, so we're going to be in touch with the actual exchanges and get them to actually convert those over for you. So no, you don't need to pull your Dogira out of an exchange.
This white paper was worth it. Yes, I agree. It's pretty awesome. I really like the design work on there. So congrats again to Mary for that. It looks amazing.
Yeah,
There's a
absolutely.
reason why it's 170 megabytes for the normal download. Um, what kind of APYs can be expected from staking the native pool and the LP pool?
It's yeah, we're not going to be able to give exact numbers on that one yet. We're talking through what kind of block rates that we're going to be running with on the actual staking pool. So to be confirmed. We'll uh, we'll have more news for that on you in the near future.
What is Mary's OpenSea Rarible? So she will be working with future designs well, she will be working with designs in the future with us, of course. And um, I mean, we are giving her exclusive work. So if we do release NFTs, those will be available on OpenSea and Rarible as well when it comes time for that. And we will let you guys know about that too. Let's see, any specific gaming project in the works that you can talk about? He means like if you could possibly talk a little bit about the one that you'll be getting out for like the use case, like, hey, this is what we can kind of do type thing.
Yeah, so there's going to be a lot, like I said, of exploratory programming around that and finding out what actually works and what's fun. And obviously, there is Splitter Steel that we can take a look at and see, would that work across it? Now, from a technical perspective, yes, it could work on blockchain. I don't know if it'll be able to get it working in a quick enough time or what we'd have to kind of change on it to get that working in a secure manner. Because right now that is fully run off an actual server, so all of the logic in there would need to be moved over into a smart contract because the general rule is you don't want to have a server controlling, like, a centralized server controlling your actual tokens. It's not how you want to be with tokens nowadays. I think we've learned plenty of times in the past that decentralized solutions are the way to go on that. One thing I can say, and that's again kind of touching on the stuff from the very well-deserved compliments that Mary has gotten on the artwork in the white paper. We will be working together on actual projects moving forward, myself and Mary. So you can look forward to seeing way more of her art in the future. I think that she's one of the most fantastic assets that we actually have on the team. And as long as I suppose my code doesn't break and Mary makes it look good, I'm sure it'll be very enjoyable by all.
And next one, what kind of rewards/benefits will there be in the Dogira referral system?
It's basically just getting a small bonus if anybody you do refer into it. So if you refer somebody onto the, Dogira staking farm, they pick up some Dogira, they stake it. We would try to give you basically a bonus percentage based off whatever they're staking in with. So if you're friends with any big whales, now is probably the time to call in any favors that they may owe you.
By the way, with the referral system, I correct me if I'm wrong, Owen, but it will be for
Mhm.
people that are actually using the system, not just click on this link and then you're good to go. Because
Yeah.
or sign up here, because I mean, like anybody can run a project where it's just like send it out to a bunch of people, pay for it. Now everyone's going to go ahead and buy into it. Like, no.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We'd be probably creating the biggest spam hive on the internet if we just
Oh,
said, yeah, just click it and you get money.
oh
It's
God.
no, they will need to be staking in on the actual farm.
All right. What happens for users who keep the share in their ledger? Does it have to be moved back to MetaMask?
Yeah, so Ledger is on chain. You just like I have mine plugged in here, so you just need to, basically put in your PIN whenever you're confirming a transfer and stuff like that. So yeah, you are on chain, like unless you've any very weird type of cold storage, but it should all work perfectly fine for you.
Some deep freeze storage. Okay. Let's see. What do you want to achieve by the end of the year?
The end of the year for me, a lot of it is getting onto the Polygon network and getting a game out. This is this is nearly, I suppose, nearly coming to a personal point for myself, but I have greatly missed working in games development, and I've really missed working on, I suppose, new technology, stuff like that. And that's not to say that, I didn't greatly enjoy the career that I had before coming on full time on this. But I think that once you do go into gaming once, it's very difficult to actually get out. And that comes with all the bad parts too, nearly. Like when I think about the career that I had in the gaming industry, I think about all the times that, I was up all night in crunch. There was the once or twice that, I just plain and simple didn't go home. There was then the really fun parts, like, going to Gamescom and stuff like that. And all the people that you meet in there, the practical family that you become when you're working together in confined quarters for a long amount of time. But like I say, all of these things, and a lot of people go, "Good God, why did you work in that?" But it's like this itch that you can never really stop scratching. You always want to go back to it. And I think the most the most difficult for myself was when I was just working independently on Splitter Steel. A lot of it being that, it was a side project I did. It got kind of popular and then it kind of died. And then I released it on Steam. And I was just starting in my career at that point, and all of a sudden it blew up in popularity. And the absolute pressure that can put you under it's fairly different. Like I look back at it now and I remember how stressed out I was in dealing with people screaming at me over Messenger and, demanding gameplay changes or asking for free stuff. And then others that would just straight up assume that because you're on Steam, oh, you must be, a multimillionaire. So can I have some money? Here's pictures of everything I have that's dying. It is a weird experience whenever you're going into independent development and things like that. But at the same time, it was one of the most rewarding experiences that I had, which I never really was able to, I suppose, appreciate in full because I was working, full time at a job that might keep me between 8 and 10 hours a day. I was getting home, I was trying to write updates for a game, which, people were constantly complaining about there being not enough updates for. And you tried to hold yourself to, I suppose, nearly an impossible standard that I never really got to work full time on it because by the time it got popular, I was in a full time job and I was trying to do two things at once, which, you know, obviously my career took priority at that point in my life. But now that we're able to jump back into doing actual games development, that's what I'm looking forward to the most right now. And it's what I want to work on the most. That being able to sit down with something as new and fresh as gaming on the blockchain and be able to get to work with all the new technology that's kind of come out in the last couple of years in that sense, it's massively exciting for me. And obviously getting to work with, all of the collaborators that we have on board, getting to work with our in-house team, getting to, have Mary on art and any other developers that we speak to that might come on to do additional projects or any, developers that come on full time with the project. That is the largest part for me. And obviously, the staking farm is one of the higher priorities right now because once we do swap over onto a new token, there'll be no auto staking anymore. So we want to get that farm up so you can continue getting all those rewards.
All right. And any update on new developers?
We are speaking with a couple of developers at the moment now. I kind of touched on this one. I'm not sure if it was in the last AMA or if I spoke about it actually in our Telegram group. Right now, one of the main things we're looking for is actually in games developers rather than just direct Solidity developers. That games development is something I find that there's more of an art in it. You need to do it for a while. If you're training somebody up in games development, there is a stage where you have that massive learning curve, and particularly if they've not done it before and they find out that it's just simply not for them, which is the case with a lot of people. You think games development is fun, you might, associate it with a video game, and then you actually sit down and do it and find out, it's actually quite different. So right now, our main priority is looking at actual games developers and working with them to build, I suppose, the blockchain logic sides on it with the games that they create. So yeah, we are working hard on that at the moment. There will be updates on that when they are available.
Must feel so good for them to say, yeah, just look through the white paper. Well, yeah, I mean, with a lot of questions, we can answer them and, just be like, yeah, okay, based on not only the white paper, what we talked about before, this is where we're going. But, if all else fails, we can just be like, look through it real quick, please. Have you look through it? What does Dogira need to do to get adopted to other exchanges like Crypto.com, Binance, and Coinbase? So with Binance, they want like a million.
I'm not sure what their exact number is. I imagine, yes, extremely high. But that's the thing, like Crypto.com and Coinbase are massive as well. I'd imagine that the priorities would all be similar on them. Like
Yeah.
for us getting on CEX, like what we look for are partners that we can actually work well with. So we spoke about this during the last AMA where, there's obviously, a lot of people just want to see more exposure to the token. And yeah, CEX there's a kind of immediate little bit of exposure boost you get on it. But I suppose we kind of ran with that with the first two exchanges we got onto just because we wanted easier ways to ramp on while people were still, Uniswap really, it's been getting extremely popular, but there's a lot of people who just don't want to use Uniswap. They want it on an exchange run from there. But Yeah, we jumped on with our last two exchanges pretty quickly, and they were great for the early growth stages, getting more people on board. When we look at the next exchange that we jump onto, is I guess we do want it to, be one of the tier one exchanges, and well, as far as CEXs go anyway, we do want it to be a tier one exchange. And on top of that, we want it to be something that makes sense. We want to have, a team under that we can actually work with, not just purely we want to go here and just throw our token up and, make something happen for us. Like most CEXs that are at a tier one level would actually work very directly with the tokens that they bring on. That, there's a technology that they're building that they're interested in, or they have utility that's already been built and they want to capitalize on that. They want to build on it and they want to get it into the hands of more people, for the utility sake of it rather than for the exposure of it. So like when it comes to getting adopted on a tier one exchange, it's more what tier one exchange will actually suit us to move forward with. And it's not a decision that we're actually rushing into at the moment. I think when the bull run was at the absolute peak, and it was April and May, and it was just kind of it just needs more exposure. We have all these things in the works. I think the kind of correction we had in the market and the more bearish months we had following that were honestly the best thing we could possibly have had for Dogira, because we were able to sit down, kind of take stock of the situation, see what we can actually build and make it into something with true value in it. And my fear is that if we, did run forward and the market just kept shooting on up, then we would have probably wound up, yes, on a tier one exchange, but we wouldn't have this white paper we have now. We wouldn't have the plans that we have now. Like it's very hard to say where we would have went with that had it gone forward. And I know we were saying at the time, like, are we sure? And I was like, look, this is a massive requirement of the community at the moment. And I think now that we've actually sat down, taken stock, spoken with the community, done out more long-term plans for, there's a rude awakening to be had in these market corrections. And I think the most severe awakening was all of us kind of realizing that, there has to be a lot of product development here. That it's all great that we have excellent ideas for we're going to go forward with, but we need to get the map down. We need to get the development actually started on it. And when it did come to that point, obviously we had some reshuffles in the team as well. Then we found, there were areas that were lacking that needed to be improved on. We got to do some fantastic work as well with, say, the art that Mary has produced on it, working on the white paper. We got to meet some unbelievable collaborators that we get to bring on now, and we got to look at how we can kind of make Dogira work outside of a bull run or anything like that. So yeah, for tier one CEXs, definitely still on the cards. Definitely something we're still working towards. We'd love to get the token just on more places, but we also want it to be something that makes sense for Dogira as well. We want this to be something that we have partners coming on who can assist us directly in what we're building, not just assisting us in taking liquidity, getting fees, and then just getting a couple more holders who might just be looking at a graph going up or down without actually reading into the projects they're jumping onto. So yeah, I think that I think there are fantastic times ahead, but we just need to make sure that we're able to leverage partners and collaborators that we can actually benefit from in those areas. So, yeah, sorry, very long answer on it, and I know I have spoken a little bit of detail on it before, but yeah, I hope that kind of gives an insight as to where I kind of come from when I look towards getting a listing on another exchange. That I don't want us coughing up a massive amount for liquidity just to basically pay for a couple of CEX fees and maybe get a little pump, yeah, it's all well and good when you're just looking for a number go up, but it's not very sustainable if you're just going, okay, get another tier one exchange, maybe the price will go up again. Because if you have a look at, they have a look at KuCoin or Gate or Binance or any of them, and when a new coin goes on there, it goes up and then it tends to come down very quickly. And there are tokens on all of those networks which have a lower market cap than we do right now. Like I think Uniswap has become so common at this point that the benefit from a tier one CEX are the partners that you can actually work with on it, not really the exposure on it anymore. Like I think anybody who's looking at tier one saying that, oh yeah, it'll definitely 10x in price the minute we go on there, maybe if nobody knew who you were at all. But I think like Dogira does have some level of market presence already. I mean, we have a market cap that's at about 10 million right now. So we certainly can't sit here and say that people need to discover us. I think that people need to discover what we're doing and we need to focus on development. So yeah, the tier one CEX stuff definitely in the future. but not something we're rushing into just for the sake of being on a tier 1 CEX.
And add on top of that, with a lot of the stuff in crypto space, it's like a company on crack times like 8. The common stuff that takes like 3, 4, 5 months to change in a company changes in a couple of days in crypto. They're over here having to talk to 8 different people and then go through their quote unquote chain of command to get things changed. Meanwhile, not only are we a small team, but even if we were a bigger one, people expect us to change immediately, be agile. And the market, as Owen said in the last Ask Me Anything, not only with the ideas that we have, but just with, general procedures, talking to the community, talking to partners, whatever it is. And so when he's talking about having that downtime to actually kind of refocus on where we want to go, I think that's very important. If you look at a lot of different altcoins, I guess some people call them blue chips depending on what tech they have, they always have this area of initial launch and then speculation once people find out about it, and then they go down for a little bit, and the people that are holding on to it keep it at a certain market cap, and then it goes back up. Not meaning to speculate on any price whatsoever, but it's always that time when they're actually developing things. When Engine first came out, they didn't immediately have games out, they didn't immediately have NFTs, but during that time from 2017 or 2018 to about 2021, they were constantly developing and releasing games and other things like that throughout the bear market. Next one, how will Dogira help move wealth being earned by black market sellers to players inside the game economies?
Black market seller. So these are, say, your typical gold farmers. So they would have bots, or they might have people that are just playing a game, earning in-game currency, and they're selling them off-site. So very common in games like, say, EVE Online, where you want to buy ISK, and you can either buy Plex online for that, and then you can convert it into ISK, or you can just go onto a third-party black market website and pay for the ISK on there, where you'll tend to get a lot more of it. So the problem with this is that even in games where they actually have a solution for buying in-game items, like say EVE, they're constantly at market forces with each other, because you have the actual publisher who has set their own prices on it, and the black market can continue operating because they are also setting their own prices on it. They can undercut, and then they still get to maintain a massive amount of cash flow coming in. And any of the games where it's not allowed at all, where there is absolutely no way to gain any type of in-game advantage, or gain any in-game currency or items, etc., by spending money. And there is a very large respect I'd have for that, and that I do believe that, yes, it is very nice when there are games where everybody is starting at the same level, and this is a closed loop that's happening in here. It's how hard you work. The problem is it's never actually been achieved, and I don't think it ever really will be. There will always be, if there's an opportunity to make money, somebody is going to make money, and it's plain and simple. When it does come down to that, I think the best thing to actually do, in my opinion, is to allow market forces to actually operate it themselves. That, like, I can't log into EVE and go mining and then sell whatever I bring in, whatever ISK I get from that, to anybody for money. That will get my account banned, even though I might be offering it way cheaper than you might be able to get it from, say, from the EVE publishers, CCP games themselves, or even cheaper than a black market seller, etc. And I might be able to prove, hey, look, I worked for this, I didn't bought it. It doesn't matter. It's simply only allowed from the publisher, and everything else is just a bannable offence. But if I was able to do that, like, who's to say that my price would not actually be lower than a black market seller or from the publisher or anything like that? And I think that ultimately the way the market needs to move in that direction is to allow everybody that opportunity, that if you're able to sell things for tokens that might have, an inherent value, and of course this is stating that this value is being applied by whatever value is going on Sushi Swap or on Quick Swap or anything like that. And that's a simple way to make sure that the price is constantly coming down in that respect. When the prices do wind up floored on it, they tend to be so low that if somebody's making a living off it, they're actually working a full-time job at it. That you simply can't log on for 1 or 2 hours every day and rake in massive amounts of money, unless there's a parabola happening on the token itself, which is absolutely possible, but it will be cancelled out, because nobody's going to sit there with a coin going into a parabola and just sit there forever. It's simply not going to happen. So when that does, start cooling off and there's a more stable price on it, people will work out the actual economy on it. That how can we get this to a level where it is sustainable to do something like this, or basically worth my time to do it rather than forget the phrase here, work a real job, because I think that is, I think work a real job is going to become very synonymous with the idea of being able to play a game in the future. And that's not to say that everybody would log in for that reason, but if you were a new player logging in and, firstly, you wanted to get some gear and well, I mean, congratulations, you can get it for 1/10 of the price that people were selling it for, 5 weeks ago, because there's now a lot of supply coming in on this stuff because there's a lot of high level players who don't need it anymore. So it allows you to kind of feed into that quickly, or you could simply go and play because the price is so low that you're probably going to be able to make that amount in a couple of minutes. Like you have to get an economy actually worked into it where people aren't going to log in and refuse to play because it's not fun because you can't afford gear or anything like that. It has to work as an actual game before it comes into there being an actual economy in it. So let's say that new player, he logs in, he decides, I'm not going to buy any gear. I just want to play the game, and that's it. Like I don't want to sit here and kind of min max my character before I even experience it. So he logs in. Turns out he enjoys the game. He picks up some gear. He runs a couple of dungeons or what have you. He comes back out and he's got new gear. So what do you do with the old gear? Well, you've got NFTs of it, which you can either break into say other NFT components, or you might be able to just sell it to a vendor for currency, or you can put it onto OpenSea or Rarible, or you can break it down and get that currency and then put that, into the actual liquidity pool and get some Matic or get some Ether or what have you back out of it. So, and that doesn't have to be, he's come out of this the first day and, he's rich or anything like that. It's that, you sat there, you played a game, you enjoyed it, and you also contributed to the economy in it. And when you consider then that, with the rate that these games are growing at, the fully decentralized games, you can consider that there might be thousands of people doing that every night. And every single one of them that's selling into a pool or putting their NFTs up or just giving them away, particularly on the Polygon network where gas is fractions of a fraction of a cent right now, like the price comes down for everyone and it becomes practically free anyway at that level. So this is an economy that can fix itself. You just need to allow everybody to do it. Because if you're only limiting it to, like, if you're only limiting it to the publisher, then you're going to have a black market. And then you have two price points, and the only competing price point would be a black market. And publishers aren't very likely to want to undercut a black market, in short. They'd prefer to stamp them out. But if absolutely everybody is doing it, and a very libertarian thing to say, but the market will find a fair price for it, and it will likely be one that is for consumers because people want to get their stuff sold. And that's the reality. And now, of course, there would be rarer items in it that would command a higher price, things like that, or a higher value. And that's all well and good as well. There's, it's a different way to play if you want to start going farming for that kind of stuff, or if you want to go into really high end raids, or if you're sorry, all of these examples are kind of coming from a World of Warcraft perspective. I'm not saying this in something that we're building, but let's say you're a world first guild, and you're the first one that's going to drop on loot. It's like, do you want to actually use that loot, or are you doing this for a living? That kind of stuff. And I think these are all the questions that are going to be asked of blockchain gaming over the next while. Having these fully like democratic economies that are actually forming around this stuff in a decentralized way, like I'm fascinated to see how it will actually work. And I think that for black market sellers, the only way they can make it work is to play the game all the time, which means that they're going to contribute to the economy and also help the economy without being something that developers need to waste time on finding, because they'll just see like, oh yeah, they're great for the economy. And that's it. So yeah, I think this stuff is all really exciting, and this solution has actually been proposed by black market economies for a long time now. They've stated that if they just allowed other people to do it, then we'd be out of business. So maybe that's what they should do. And I think blockchain gaming is the first time that that's going to actually happen. So they might live to rue the day they said those words. But yeah, that's how I see this kind of stuff evolving long term when it comes to decentralized game economies. And you'll have people that, they care about that kind of stuff and they do want to, actually get the best of everything. You've got people then that want to actually sit down and, I mean, I've had this, I think, in the white paper, and I kind of refer to Eve Online, where there's people playing that, where I mean, it is a job. You're talking like 16 hours a day, And I'm kind of sitting there going, like, if I were to do that and I didn't get a paycheck at the end of it, I don't think I'd be able to keep it up. It's a reality. You're spending your whole life doing it, and then you're going to work 8 hours of a job so that you can afford 16 hours of a job. I think this is something that actually solves that, and it is a careful balancing act because you don't want to build something where somebody is just wailing into it and they destroy the game for 99% of other people. So there is a balancing act to be had in it as well. You can't just simply make pay to win the experience. Like, this is something that needs to be, I suppose, really tried, tested, and evolved over time. And personally, I can't wait to see where that takes us. And apologies, it's probably a very, again, long-winded answer to a simple question. But I hope that kind of gives my idea of how this will work going forward, how that kind of economy is going to be built in all of blockchain gaming. And I think we're just right at the start of it. I can't wait to see how this goes.
All right. Next, what happens with the unlock liquidity or rewards with the V2 token? How are the rewards distributed? Which is in the white paper.
Yeah, so that's all in the white paper. It's under staking. So if you take a read through that, you'll be able to see it on there. But if you ever used a staking farm before, you simply just take your tokens and either mix them for making liquidity, put them into the actual liquidity farm, or stake it, whichever, and then you just click a button to take it back out with any extras you have on top of it, or you just harvest your rewards and leave the rest of it in.
The ideal team size for Dogira Studios? I mean, I wouldn't say there's really ideal team size. As we get larger, the team would naturally grow. I mean, we
Yeah,
would still use contractors and such, but I mean, there's no reason not to have permanent staff on board.
yeah, certainly. I mean, it's a good point from Skylar's side as well. Like, I mean, uh, I have numbers in my mind for what I'd love to have for a studio, and one permanent staff member I'd always want to have would be, musicians, stuff like that. But I can't hire a full band to sit there and
We're
wait
not
between.
hiring an Avril, right?
I
Or
know that'll happen. That'll happen anyway. But yeah, like, so there are certain positions that will likely remain on a contract basis. But when we're talking about, I suppose, the actual game development side of it, I am a large fan of small teams working on individual projects and leapfrogging each other, stuff like that. I think it's much more difficult after you get above a certain team size, to actually keep everybody in sync and to actually make use of all your resources. So for me, I would generally stick with smaller team sizes. And that small team size can be, I think the industry average is, you have two artists to every developer. But when you go down to an indie level on it, where people are sharing a lot of roles between it, like, you can have fantastic teams that are really small in size, and there could even be independent, like, one man shows and stuff like that, or one woman shows, what have you. Like, if you look at Undertale, Toby Fox, I mean, that's probably one of the best games I've ever played. And outside of a lot of friends that he had helping little bits of it, we did a massive amount of that himself. So I wouldn't say ideal team size, because we could have somebody like that arrive in and want to make a game all by themselves. It turns out they're fantastic at it. So yeah, they'd be on the studio, but they'd be a separate team unto themselves. So yeah, that's no direct answer for that one, unfortunately. It's very subjective, but that's my kind of opinion on it anyway. Small is good.
Will the white paper be translated into other languages? Yes, yes, it will. We already we're finishing up on the main languages on the website, and we will be getting more of them on there. And then after that, we'll be translating the white paper, updating the website, etc., etc. What can we as holders and supporters do to help Dogira grow into a viable long-term token platform slash developer? I mean, honestly, it's really about reaching out to whoever you can. If you have connections, use them, tell them about Dogira, see what they can do, bring them to me so I can talk to them as well. Letting people know about Dogira and just getting the word out there, because we can get as many articles, as many advertisements, whatever out there as possible, but it's no use if it's just, they're passing it by. They're so desensitized to all these other advertisements and articles. They just read through it and they're like, okay, whatever. And then they go straight to CoinGecko, look at the most recently added coins or whatever it is, right? If you're telling them about something, though, they're more apt to actually look into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of to chime in on that one as well, as Scholar was talking about, price go up and stuff like that. Like, I've had a lot of people, come to me and say, oh, Dogira, so you think there's any upside coming soon? People that just want to buy in, and like, I nearly roll my eyes through a screen. That kind of thing is like, I'm working on development, and can you not ask me about what we're working on, rather than do I think magically a number is going to go up, stuff like that. So, like, my advice would be, like, that white paper that we've just released. I mean, I again, Mary did such a great job in actually making it such a kind of a visual treat to read through. And, it was written as well for the idea that anybody should be able to pick this up and understand what they're actually reading about without having to go into wild amounts of technical jargon. Obviously, there is a little bit in there that we couldn't really escape, but I think that white paper is probably one of the best weapons we have right now in our arsenal for getting people on board. That there doesn't have to be speaking about, magic numbers or anything like that. Just show them the white paper and say, do you find that interesting? Do you think that this is something that can take off in the future? Like, would you like to be on the absolute ground floor for it? Then I think that does all the argument for you, or all the arguing for you. So definitely spread the word. That is the most important thing you can do as a holder. To spread the word of it and tell people about, what we're working on and all the real things that we're working on behind the scenes. Because I think a lot of people at this stage are nearly a little bit afraid in the sense that, there are so many low quality projects that have appeared. And there are white papers that are coming out for some of these, and the white paper just reads stuff like, at this point we'll be on the moon, stuff that has no relevance, or it's just a tangent put into 4 or 5 pages. So I think that white paper, which we've kind of distilled over the last couple of weeks, months, etc., and obviously had a very talented team to put together just such a beautiful presentation on it as well. I think that is one of the best things we can run with right now. Just get the white paper out there, get people to read it and talk about it and ask questions about it and speculate on it. Everything you can do. And that's the best thing you can do to help grow the token.
When mobile play to earn, so as it was said in the white paper, WebGL type games and things of that nature, if we did go down that path, very easy to go ahead and just throw that onto mobile from a browser.
So moving things onto mobile, if we're doing anything in, an exploratory sense, then it will be on WebGL, and if it works, we'll start looking at mobile for it then. Because that's very easy to port across from WebGL onto mobile, but it may need a different UI, stuff like that. As keyboard and mouse is a very different control scheme to a touch screen, stuff like that. But mobile is definitely something that we are looking at doing in the future. But for now, I would say to turn your gaze towards WebGL for kind of the more immediate stuff that we're going to see, or the more short-term stuff rather.
What aspects of the white paper do you want the community to focus on when promoting it? I would say definitely focus on what the project is actually about, our utility, and I mean, other than that, everything else should just fall into place.
Yeah, I mean, on my end, obviously, I'm like, it's blockchain gaming for me. I mean, I think that when you're actually, speaking to people about it, speak about what interests you about it, because there might be different things in it that you like. I mean, I know people who are massive on their DeFi farming and stuff like that, and that might be the most exciting thing for them on it, that this is, it's a limited capped supply, that, this isn't inflationary. When it's gone, and that's it. The only resupply there'll be would be from, as we said, if we have certain services or games that take a small portion of any fees that are paid on it, which we then put back into a staking pool. So like that for me, from a yield farming perspective and stuff like that, is really exciting. I mean, it's an actual economic challenge to get stuff like that working. So really looking forward to seeing it. And then new tokens that come out, they'll also be on there that you can jump into. So if a game does really well and you're staked into it and farming on it, then yeah, there's a lot to be gained from that one too. Blockchain gaming would obviously still be my that would still be my number one go-to on it. So would absolutely recommend that to any gaming fans, especially the stuff we talked about, that individual economies that are actually tied together through the Dogira token. So if you own the Dogira token, you technically have basically a little piece of everything that we launched through it. Additional services like that, and I think the under the additional services, when we're talking about like Reddit tip bots and stuff like that, I can't wait to sit down and actually start playing with those as well. That just a really fun way to actually get people to learn more about the token, especially when we're going to be on Polygon and people can actually withdraw it without having to pay $20 in a gas fee, stuff like that. But that's from my end anyway. Dan, is there anything in there in particular that you'd be excited about?
Hey guys. Yeah, I'd say the blockchain gaming is the most exciting. We're starting to see some real case studies come through recently that are, proving that you can play to earn And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to reward the players at certain levels, right? It's more just at least having an open market for them to be able to trade with other players, the hard work that they put in. So I'm very interested to sort of see where we take, our ideas, but also it will definitely be challenging because there are so many games out there that end up becoming broken in some way. And I don't say like the game's broken, but there's always, if you have a strategy game and, it's all about building an economy, someone finds a way to be better than every other player. And all of a sudden they have too much control of the game and, what the costs are and, or if it's, there's a lot of things that we'll have to take into account. And one of the things I'll be studying is the Bartle taxonomy of player types. And how do we keep all types of players interested in some of the games that we develop? And it might not be possible because, that's, everyone has their own sort of versions of how they want to play. But I'm very interested to see where we take some of our blockchain gaming ideas, and I think that's where you guys will probably get most excitement and attract more people to the project. That's all I'll say.
Thank you guys for coming on over here.
Yep, thanks a million all. Speak soon, and next time we speak, actually, it'll be full-time work on Dogira. Let's look forward to it.